Okay, hey guys, what's up? So I want to make a quick DIY video just showing how I kind of fixed my garage door. You can fast forward this beginning part, it just kind of explains how I got to this point. So um, what had happened was I didn't realize my spring had broken, and then I went to open my garage door and I kept pressing the button a few times. I was impatient. I was going to meet up with someone, so I was impatient. Otherwise, I would have stopped after the first time because it tried to raise it up but didn't actually go up because the spring was broken. So it was pulling this really hard and it caused a bend there. It's fixed now for the most part, so you can't really see it. So it caused that top panel to bend. Anyways, I called out a garage door repair guy. He replaced the spring there, but for some reason, the original strut that came with the door up there, for some reason, he wanted to move it down a couple panels. So he moved it down here. And then when he opened the garage door, since there was no longer support on this top panel, when the garage door opened, the top three panels just kind of collapsed down. So it collapsed inward. Once it was up, they just collapsed down. So they all bowed, and he told me he was really apologetic about it, and he basically said, like, yeah, you're gonna need a new garage door. And I was getting quotes, and they were around like $3,000. And I'm always trying to be DIY, so I was like, okay, well, let's see if I can fix this first. So first thing I did is I asked the guy while he was here, I was like, well, can I just get some struts and strut each of these panels? Because you see, the bend that's in the panels themselves, it wasn't so extreme. I mean, it was an issue, but it wasn't so extreme that, like, looking at it from the outside, it was just a complete eyesore. Like, it wasn't too bad yet, but he said if you keep opening and closing it, it's just eventually gonna collapse and fall off. And where it's at right now, like, it's screwed. You're gonna have to get a new garage door. So I was like, okay, what if I buy the struts, the official struts for garage doors that go on these things? And he said, like, each one of those is gonna cost like $160 a pop plus install. Like, you're looking at $600, $700, $800 to strut every single door. And on top of that, the spring isn't rated for all that extra weight. So I was like, okay, I'm kind of screwed, it seemed like, but I was like, okay, let me go on YouTube, do some kind of research on Reddit and see if I can figure out a way to kind of fix this or mend this problem. So I saw a couple people try things. I saw a guy on YouTube, and what he had done is he had gotten some aluminum, like, conduit for wire or whatever. So he got some aluminum conduit pipe, just round pipe, and he basically bolted it in at several points along these, I don't know what you call these, we'll just call them like spines for right now, but he bolted it on there and it kind of patched the job. However, when he opened the garage door still sagged a little bit. You could see the pipe was bending in the middle here as it was sagging. Anyways, so I was like, okay, well, at least it's possible to kind of fix this to a small degree. So, but I didn't want to use the pipe because the pipe was heavy. It was like a thick gauge. I didn't want to add that extra weight to the spring. So I kept looking, and I saw a guy on YouTube, and the guy on YouTube is like a popular, like, garage door repair guy, and he had shown as like a bad way. Like, he's like, this guy, some homeowner tried to repair this himself, and look at what he did. So he basically, what the guy ended up doing is he went out and got, this is called Pro Stud. You can get this at Home Depot or Walmart. It's basically, I guess, a thin gauge steel stud that they use in framing or something like that. I don't really know. Anyway, so, but what the guy had done, and it seemed logical to me, was instead of, see how that's mounted this way? Instead of mounting it like this, he mounted it like that. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Like, that's how I would just normally think to mount it, like this. But he had to use a lot of them. So they were spanning the whole door, and there was a lot of them on there. So that added tons of extra weight, and that's what the YouTube guy was saying was the issue. It was like, hey, there's so much extra weight on that spring, like, it's gonna fail really soon. Like, it's not rated for that amount of weight. Anyway, so I went and I started getting on AI and trying to talk about, like, the physics of it, because I wanted to kind of try a DIY version of this. And what it was actually telling me, which I had no idea, was how important the distance away from the sag or the force you're trying to resist, this distance is so important. So mounting it the other way, you're only getting, I don't know, like an inch or two, you're only getting an inch of distance away. Whereas if we mounted these pro studs this way, to where the long part of the spine is the furthest away from the force that you're trying to resist the bending on. Basically what happens is exponentially stronger the more distance away. Like, so, you know, when they design I-beams and stuff like that, that's where you really get the strength, the distance away. So it's like, okay, so I can do this then without adding tons of these studs, these pro studs, and also I'm not going to try using that conduit because again, there's not a lot of distance away from here that's resisting that bending force. So, and the other thing is, I also, like, since the crease was right in the middle here, I didn't have to worry about this because this is all intact. The actual bends are right here. So, went to the hardware store, bought these pro studs. So, originally I was looking at Unistrut. Now, Unistrut, first of all, has gotten so expensive. Like, steel prices are really expensive, and it's not very, you're not going to get that long distance away like these things have. So, but Unistrut, if I had bought Unistrut, this would have been way heavier and way more expensive. So I went with the Pro Stud because these things were like, these bigger ones were like $15 a piece, and then I put a smaller one here because I needed to get clearance when this opens. But I put a shorter one on the very top. This is only like $10. So this whole thing cost me, like, all together with the hardware, with the bolts and the tin snips, like, I bought everything because I didn't really have any of the tools. But this whole project cost me about $100, which is a lot less than the $3,000 they had wanted, that any repair guy would have charged for a whole new garage door. So I'll kind of walk through how I did it in case anyone wants to try to do a similar project like this. So basically, I went to the store, bought these struts. These were much longer. But again, I wanted to shed as much weight as possible to give some relief to that, that spring there. So brought the struts in, then got some tin snips, measured this all out, got some tin snips, snipped it, so that way we're only connecting to these three vertical spines, if you will. Then because I was doing this by myself, you can use like those other clamps, but I basically got like clamps like this, so that way I could hold it up. I could get it level. So I do one there, so that way I could work on this whole thing and keep it level. Let me put that back. Anyway, so then once it was sitting here, I was able to kind of mark where I wanted my holes to be drilled in. So I marked it on there, marked it on there, made sure that these were all kind of even where they were going to go. Then I took the strut off, took it down, pre-drilled 2 holes per section, 2 holes, 2 holes, 2 holes. Like, because these things I need to get self-tapping bolts. So these are self-tapping bolts. And it was going to be a pain in the ass drilling these bolts all the way through the steel. So that just wasn't going to work. So I had to pre-drill like a 90% size of the hole that I needed. So yeah, like drilled it just a little bit smaller than what those bolts are going to drill through, just so that way it would penetrate through there easier. Anyways, so then once I had those bolts pre-drilled, I set it back up here with those clamps, lined up the holes, and then got a battery ratchet, and then just basically put it in here, got the battery ratchet, ratcheted it down, and all 3, and just worked my way up. I mean, the whole thing got knocked out in maybe like 4 hours, and I've never done anything like this, so it wasn't too bad. But I mean, I've been running this door now for several months, and this thing, I'm telling you, this thing is bomb-proof. Like, this thing is sturdy. So I'll show you right now what it looks like now opening. And it got a lot quieter. But this thing, like it does not bend at all. Like, the thing is just sturdy, no bend. And originally, let me close it again real quick. Originally up there, you can see still a tiny bit of light peak just because the metal is still bent inward just a little bit up there. But there was tons of light peeking through here because the whole thing was bent down. But I'll show you what it looks like on the outside too now. But yeah, you can see how it did get bent there. But like that, I'm not going to try to work that out. I feel like I'm just going to make it worse. But you know, from a distance, like it really doesn't look that bad. So long story short, I was able to DIY this thing and save me about 300 bucks. And seeing as how other people that I watched on YouTube kind of try to DIY it and led me in the right direction, I kind of wanted to share it forward, if you will, and show you the way I fixed it. And hopefully, you know, this can help some other people save some money on this if this happens to you. Okay, so real quick, I watched the video back and I realized I forgot a couple things I just wanted to throw in real quick. First of all, I think at the end I saved 300 bucks. No, I saved like 2,900 bucks. So get that out of the way. Second of all, I also wanted to note that if you do this and you install these, you're gonna have less clearance. So just be aware that your car or vehicle is probably gonna have to go a little bit further in. I haven't had a problem with it. It hasn't hit anything because I've been paying attention to it, but just be aware that if you do this, you're probably gonna have to move forward a little bit more than you usually do, just that way it clears and doesn't scrape up there. And then one last thing, hopefully it got across in the first video, but maybe it didn't, is so when I drilled the holes for this, like I marked with Sharpie there where the holes are gonna go. Then I marked like the same distance. I made sure to like get that same distance here, same distance here. So then when I pre-drilled the hole in the stud, in the strut, I also pre-drilled the hole into this spine, because it would have been a pain in the butt using these self-tapping bolts to try to drill through all of this metal and all of this metal. So again, when I got my drill, I drilled out two holes in this, two holes in this. And then once those were drilled out, then that's when I lined everything up. Once it was all lined up, then I put a clamp here, and then I was able to easily line up those 4 holes, if you will, per thing, and then use these self-tapping bolts to drill in. And then I drilled. And also one other thing is, when I was installing this and whatnot, I was making sure to I don't know if it helped or anything, but I tried to, as much as I could, kind of make sure there's a little bit of pressure there, just so that way, like as I'm tightening, like especially as I was tightening this one, I was like pushing it in while I was tapping these, just to make sure it's kind of set in the straightest way possible. Again, I don't know if that's necessary or not, but that's what I did.